What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Battle for Azeroth Warlocks, and there's a lot of problems currently in the state of Warlocks for me personally, and I feel like need to be addressed. I haven't really noticed a whole lot of conversation going on about this specific topic, but to me it's very important. Destruction Warlocks are in a really bad spot. I like the feel of the Destruction Warlocks right now, but the Destruction Warlocks specific talent called Soulfire. Soulfire, currently in the way that it's set up, feels very slow and clunky in the rotation. Yeah, it's a talent. It's an ability that you can choose and choose to not take if you don't want to, but in the grand scheme of things, you pretty much will have to take it at some point. More than likely, if they balance it correctly, it's probably going to be a very good talent for nuking certain mobs. It might even be the best overall sim talent for just DPS in general. No one's going to know until the sims come out. No one's going to know until the actual DPS is appropriately tuned, but we all know that if there is a talent option, they should all feel good and playable. In my opinion, every single talent that you choose should feel good and playable. Now, the Warlock specs as a whole have their own issues, but specifically with Destruction, Soulfire has this tendency to consistently feel like you have to stop and do nothing. I don't know about a lot of you, maybe casting an ability makes it feel like you're doing something, but for me, there needs to be a constant feeling of I am actively participating in everything that's going on. For the longest point, Chaos Bolt has felt like it's very slow, and Chaos Bolt has always felt to me like it needs to be quicker. At least with Chaos Bolt, we've always had the ability to speed it up through our own passives whenever we use Conflagrate. That passive, whenever we use that ability, has been very, very nice just overall with the rotation, but now with Soulfire, you can't really be affected with that passive anymore. You can't conflagrate and speed up the process of Soulfire, at least not to a noticeable amount. Right now with Soulfire consistently does decent damage, but overall, in comparison to how Chaos Bolt feels, Soulfire kind of just feels like it's out of place. When you take Soulfire, the best thing I can see happening right now is to just remove Chaos Bolt and replace it with Soulfire, just a stronger overall ability. Maybe give it a cooldown, maybe give you 2 charges, and just work it through like that. But right now, with how Chaos Bolt works, in conjunction with Soulfire, I don't see this being an appropriate talent for the specs in question. Moving on to the next two specs in general. So Demonology has been renowned so far in the beta for being a very, very good spec and working really, really well in comparison to other specs of the Warlock. It's a very fluid feeling spec and it works really, really well, and I really do like it. I mean, it's one of my most loved specs. I get into testing it, and you can see more than likely through the videos I'm going to show you is that I kind of get lost in the rotation. It's really fun to just spawn mobs and keep going and keep going and keep going with that rotation. It feels really, really good. But there is a problem. It feels a lot like I'm playing a Pyroblast mage, like I'm playing a fire mage who's just throwing Pyroblast left and right, and the Pyroblasts in question are my Demon Bolts. They reworked the ability to make it look more like a demonic ability, like it's all shadowy and spiky and it flows out, instead of the previous incarnation, which was just a fireball that shot out. So it feels a little less like a fire mage, but the problem still lies in how that playstyle plays, and the overall arching theme that every single Warlock spec needs to have this overly destructive single target ability like Death Bolt, like Demon Bolt, like Soulfire. Every single spec has this really, really strong hitting ability, and it's not necessarily that that's wrong, but there is an innate problem in that, and that it feels like every spec sort of has its own. Every spec sort of feels the same in that aspect. They all have their different little niches and kinks, but they all do feel like I need to have my nuke ability, I need to have my consistent DPS ability, and at the end of the day, what happens is it ends up feeling like every spec is sort of the same. Obviously, they're vastly different, but whenever you spec into these talents or you spec into these abilities, you end up feeling like, wow, I just played Destruction, but now I have a Destruction-esque ability. I have Deathbolt. Deathbolt feels like Soulfire. It's just like a faster casting Soulfire. It hits really, really hard. It hits almost twice as hard as Soulfire does. Just if you play it properly, if you use the right abilities, if you get enough unstable afflictions on target, you hit really, really hard with that ability. Demonology and Affliction are in a very decent spot right now. I don't really have too many problems with either one of them. If I were to give any suggestions, it would be that I feel like Affliction has a very low to high DPS skill ceiling. There is an innate wrongness with the fact that Deathbolt doesn't do any damage if you don't have any dots on the target. I mean, obviously you're going to have dots on the target and it's going to do damage, but I feel like there is a lot of potential to make mistakes for newer players. It also, like, it's nice to have that difficulty curve, but it also feels awkward to throw on all of your UA abilities and there not be a cap. It feels really weird. And I think that the only thing I could say that could possibly fix that problem is to change Deathbolt in a way so that it only affects, it has a flat damage. So Deathbolt will have a flat damage, and then the abilities you use, such as UA, well, actually just UA, the more UAs you put on the target, the more you magnify the damage of Deathbolt. So let's say Deathbolt does this flat 4k damage, and then you put a UA on, and the UA increases that damage by 100%. And then you can stack that maybe twice maximum, so up to 2 times. You can have a 200% increase to your Deathbolt. So your Deathbolt does about 12k now. I think that's fine. I think that's an okay to set that precedent that this is the stable point. This is where it's going to breach. This is the point where, you know, to reel it back a little bit. Other than that, Demonology, I don't really have a problem with. I think Demonology is doing really well. Besides the fact that Demonology feels a lot like a Fire Mage right now, for me, I understand it and I like the way it feels. It plays well. I don't want them to sacrifice the gameplay for the fantasy of the class. And I feel like the fantasy of the Demonology Warlock has never been any better than it is right now. It is really, really nice to summon all the demons that you're summoning. I just don't like Demon Bolt from a RP standpoint. Destruction is really where I am uncomfortable and annoyed. I don't like the way how slow Castle Soulfire is. I don't like how that interacts with Chaos Bolt in your gameplay. There is a lack of synergy there, along with the fact that we have GCD changes, which don't really affect the Warlock as much, at least not from my experience so far testing on the beta. I feel like Soulfire needs to be either changed, replace Chaos Bolt, have a shorter cooldown. Something needs to change, or just flat out remove Soulfire. Destruction already felt kind of off last expansion, and now it feels really, really off this expansion for me personally. If you liked what I said, guys, down in the comments, leave a like, say something, let me know what you feel. How do you like the Warlocks right now in the beta? Any comments you have or any suggestions you have in this video to make it better, please let me know, and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. I can look forward to seeing you guys and talking to y'all. Thank you so much for the 6K views on the last video that I put out about a month ago. During the time between the last video and this video, I've been doing my finals, and I did really well, which is good. But the most important thing is I really appreciate the support. It makes me want to keep making videos like this. So thank you so much, and I hope you all have a great day, and I hope to see you soon in the next video, and peace.